Hi, I'm Javier Grigsby, and I'm doing my presentation on the composer and lyricist Maury Yeston. Maury Yeston was born in Jersey City on October 23rd, 1945. He did his undergrad at Yale University, majoring in music theory and composition. Got his master's at Cambridge. He also did a fellowship where he had a teaching job at Lincoln University, and he married Julianne Waldham in 1995. These are all his shows that I found on Wikipedia Hour. Correct me if I've missed something or if I've added things that are necessary. Um, though, as far as I know, the most populars are nine. Uh, there's Death Takes a Holiday, which is, I believe, the one that you mentioned, Hour. I might be wrong. Grand Hotel, Phantom. I found it interesting that Phantom was also. There's another adaptation of Phantom of the Opera that's much newer, and from the reviews I've seen, it poses a very different perspective on the protagonist, the male protagonist. Uh, Nine is also one that I found very interesting, as it was kind of based on the semi-autobiographical film Federico Fellini, kind of like this Italian film director. It's pretty cool that Danny Day-Lewis was in the film, even though it had got piss poor reviews. Still, it's interesting to see that. Notable collaborators that I could find was Peter Stone, Death Takes a Holiday, and Titanic. Um, he writes all he wrote both of these plays. Sorry, Arthur Coppett also worked on Nine and Phantom. And Thomas Jane June actually asked him to come into Grand Hotel while there was already a composer and a lyricist, and they were reluctant to say yes. Well, they were reluctant, but they reluctantly said yes. Sorry, apparently, to his edition. Apparently, it's a very welcomed edition. Wrote some good shit. And I had a Carol Churchill in here because I typo there, forgot to put the 9 on Cloud 9. Because I had to write a 4,000 word essay on Carol Churchill. I read one of her plays. I can't remember for the life of me what play it was, and I don't have that essay anymore. But it was on feminist theater. And I know, Hour, you're fucking laughing right now because my ass doing something about feminist theater. But it was very interesting. She's a fucking fantastic writer. And she she's definitely a very, and then sorry to get off topic, but this play that she wrote seems insanely good, like how it's about Victorian age and also modern day London, Victorian age, like Africa too. It's pretty interesting. I'd love to read it or watch it. So we'll start with Cloud 9. Two acts tell different stories from different generations. It's set in the Victorian era. Clive, a British colonial administrator, houses Mrs. Saunders and an explorer by the name of Harry Bagley as they seek refuge from riots from the natives. What ensues are tales of love triangles and forbidden relationships. What happens is Clive's son falls in love with Harry. Clive wants to be a mistress with Mrs. Saunders, and Clive's wife is into her. This is what, just like a brief little reading I made off of this. This is very interesting. I didn't really read too much about the second act that's based in London, but according to the characters think only 25 years have passed. Some of the characters return, but it's like 300 years later, like Victorian age versus like the 70s in London. And like it's supposedly like a character study between like gender and sexuality and how it changes throughout the eras, and how women are treated or how homosexuality is perceived. What the reviews I could find, I said it was bold, funny, aged well. Unfortunately, I didn't really find much about Yeston. What I know, Yeston, like, there's in some plays that he seems to be like the only good thing about it, or sometimes like it fades in the background type thing. I guess it just depends on the playwright and its relationship with the music and all that. So 9 is the big one. It's about Italian film director Guido Contini turns 40, faces two obstacles: his wife, who threatens to leave him, and writer's block. I wrote about the film, 35%, but the reviews were of the play were overall favorable, and Yeston would go on to win a Tony for Best Original Score. Like this, I mostly found very positive reviews about Nine online. It seemed that the consensus was that Yeston and the the writing worked perfectly. I would love to just watch this live because I'm very curious because I've watched I think one or two of Federico Fellini's films and I was just in love with it. So I'd love to check this out. Um, Grand Hotel focuses on the. It's kind of like a ensemble cast similar to what we're gonna see in Titanic, about a variety of people. We see a concierge waiting to hear news on his wife's labor, a Jewish bookkeeper who's trying to spend his last days in luxury, a doctor, a ballerina. It's all based around this very luxurious hotel in Berlin in 1928. And the reviews are very mixed. I mean, the DC Theater Scene headline I put up, but this is from a new revival, I believe. And it said, brilliant sets, costume performances, lackluster book and music. That's what threw me off, because I was like, wow, Yeston's music is usually praised. The fucker has a Tony. And like a desk award, I believe it's called. I've never heard of it, but it seems like it's always second to the Tony when I'm reading about awards, so we'll see. Here's Phantom. Eric the Phantom raising the opera meets the singer Christine. Complications arise when a manager of the opera loses position at the opera and loses position at the... Sorry, that's redundant as fuck. And the new owner, Carlotta, has a terrible voice. The New York Times review, I just opened with this because this seemed very interesting. Mr. Copett's Phantom is no less perverted than Lord Lloyd Webber's. It's the original famous one. But he is far more affecting. Mr. Yeston's sophisticated score is the model of how a loving assortment of classical forms can make a popular theater music bloom. Mr. Yeston's music charms and effervesces, valuing melodious, and variety more than the extended leitmotif and endless bloated reprises. So it was pretty interesting how Yeston was valued here. I got this excerpt from Wikipedia. It was pretty interesting how this worked overall for was mostly an appraisal for Yeston. So I was saying I was surprised I was seeing someone talk negatively about it. Titanic is also an ensemble like Grand Hotel, and I thought it was going to be an adaptation of the film. I'm sorry, I'm film background, so I don't really understand or know too much about how these things go, but it doesn't seem like it's about that. It's more like about the ship, about the poor decks and the rich decks, which I found very interesting. It won every single Tony Award it was nominated, including Best Musical and Best Score, so that's great. Death Takes a Holiday is about Duke Lamberti. This is another Italian subject, and I'm going to talk about that later, sorry. Duke Lamberti's family is driving back home from his daughter Grazia's engagement party when a shadowy figure appears in the middle of the road, which throws Grazia overboard. This was like, I was trying to read the synopsis to this, and I just could not understand what was going on. I understood the first two sentences, but then the dad's visited by death said that daughter or something had been possessed or something. Sorry. It had mostly been mixed reviews. Did get appraisal from the New York Times, but Maury Yeston was also praised. Could not find much about this, except that it was about the Barrymores and how it's based around their lives. Could not find any reviews. Awards. He has a Tony Award for Best Original Score for Titanic and 9. He has a Drama Desk Awards for Lyrics, Outstanding Musical, Outstanding Music, Critics Circle Award for Outstanding Broadway Musical for 9. That's 5. Or 4, sorry. And fundamentally common themes and anomalies. I found like a lot of adaptations of European stuff. Looking at that Grand Hotel, Phantom 2. It's from a French author. And There's the last one here, the Royal Family Revival. That's also Italian. I saw a lot of Italian stuff too. Um, and Titanic and Grand Hotel and Ensemble Cast. And Nine and the Royal Family is about celebrity lifestyles. So it's pretty interesting. And yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you.